Question 1. Circle two input devices. Now, when we talk about input, and by the way, you see this in chapter 1. Okay, so this is types and components of computer systems. Now, when we talk about the input device, we need to understand what it is, right? So it's important to understand that when it comes to input, the word input here, when it comes to input, right, devices, they are hardware. And what are hardware? Physical components, right? That allows data to be entered into a computer. Good. So now we know that there are data to be entered into a computer. What are those hardware, right? Actuator is not one of them because actuator is more or less an output, right? Blu-ray disc is optical, so it's not. Cloud is not, because we're able to store data in remote. Keyboard, yes. Flash memory, nope. This is solid state, so this is not. Hard disk, mm-mm, no. Why is it no? This is magnetic storage. Mouse, yes, is an input and also a pointing device. SD card, no. And why is it? Because this also falls in solid state and more specifically memory card. I hope we're learning how we did that, right? Really, that's what we do here. I'm just here to just make everything simple. Really. We've covered like so many chapters. All right, let's talk about this. A computer system uses application software and system software. So now you see this also in chapter 1, types and components of computer systems. Describe the following software. Now this falls under application. Now let's talk about spreadsheet. Let's say describe. So that's the two marker. The marks would always tell you the point. So the first thing I want to talk about here is that used to organize and manipulate numerical data. The next one is organized on a grid of lettered columns and numbered row. Let's talk about database. Two marks will tell you 2 points. Okay, so here we can see that it is used to organize, manipulate, and analyze data. The next one, Now we know that um, what kind of data they we can organize, manipulate, and analyze data. And we know that a typical database is made up of what? One or more tables. So we can say it is made up of one or more tables. Okay. Here you can also do for others. Okay. For database, it has functions like ability to carry out queries. Okay. All right. Yeah. Applet. Now we have apps and applets. So we have two marks here. So let's talk about this. Again, we can see it's a small application that performs a single task. Now, what can we see here as well? Okay, so a small application that performs a single task. Um, we can also look at it here that another Mac, they are embedded in an HTML page on a website. Okay, on a website. Of course, and can use and again, if you want to add this, this can be another point and can be executed from within a browser. Okay. State three types of system software. Now, this is also chapter one. Well, let's look at system software. What do you mean by system software? Right? It's important for you to know when it comes to system software, it is designed to provide a platform on which all other software can run. Okay, so let's talk about them. We have compilers, we have linkers, we have operating system. Okay, we can add others here. We have what? Device drivers. We have what? Utilities. Are we learning? Just let me know in the comment section if you're learning. It's important for me to ensure that you're learning. Okay? All right. Question three. A doctor uses an expert system to diagnose a patient's illness. Describe how expert system can produce diagnosis of an illness. So this is chapter six, right? You see that in chapter six, ICT application. And more specifically, you see that in 6.8, where you have your expert system. So let's talk about this. What's an expert system? Let's even understand what it is, because most of the time you just watch your answer a question. So permit me to enlighten you. When we talk about an expert system, and if you're joining us for the first time, this is why Ajiro Tech is the best YouTube channel you can have for your IGCSEs and edX. We're literally the best center, and the best platform, the best tutors you can ever go to. Really, we just know how to do it better. Okay, so we have expert systems. Okay, are developed to mimic the expertise and knowledge of an expert in any field, in a particular field. It could be computer, it could be medical, strategic game, tax and financial planning, route scheduling for delivery vehicles. In this case, diagnosis, right? And of course, we have two types of diagnosis. We have medical diagnosis and we have diagnostics. Diagnosis is for medical. Diagnostics could be finding fault in the car engine, finding fault probably in the circuit board, finding fault literally. Okay. All right. So let's see how we can answer this. Now, the first thing we have to look at is let's talk about. Let me help you. When it comes to expert system, there's something you need to know that will help you um, in this particular question. Now, let me zoom in. Right. Permit me to zoom in so that it can be more, it can be easier. I just want to zoom in, right? So we have this. We have the user interface. Okay, so this is the diagram here. Is the two ways I'll explain. We have the inference engine. Okay, I think I should have done this. So we have inference engine. Going up, we have what? Explanation system. Okay, and this goes where? Here, right? And then we have, okay, so we have this. This is two-way. We have the knowledge base, goes like this. And this is the two-way. We have what? The rule base. And this goes from here down to here. So this is literally the diagram, right? And how it goes. So when it comes to the user interface, they are interactive because that is where interactions happens, either with dialog boxes, questions have been asked that only has yes or no, and of course are based on previous responses. When it comes to the inference engine, it is the main processing element of the expert system. When it comes to the explanation system, it informs the user of the reasoning behind the expert system conclusion. When you talk about the knowledge base, it is a repository of facts. Now look at this word, repository of facts. I know most of you will be asking me, what's mean by repository of facts? This is where all the facts of the knowledge are being stored. Simple. So it stores all the knowledge and the area of expertise obtained from a number of what expert resources. Now, when it comes to the rule base, right, it is a set of inference rules. A set of what? Set of inference rules. Inference rules. Okay, that's what it is, right? That simply means that it is that rule that is used to draw conclusions. Make sense? It does? Okay, you good? Right, so let's go. So let's go. Let's answer this together. If you have any issue, please let me know in the chat box. Okay? All right. So let's start. The first thing with this information we provided, there's a form marker. So the first thing is we an interactive We have an interactive user interface. Okay, the interactive user interface to ask questions, to ask the user question. Okay, describe. So you have to give everything. You have to explain literally everything, right? Or put the key points. Um, we have questions to ask the user question. Okay, we can now do just to wrap up. So we can have to ask the user questions. We can have um, situations where the answer leads to other questions, leads to other questions. We have inference engine, which is the main processing element, searches the knowledge base. Okay, and then we can now see the knowledge base is being searched using the rule base, using the rules. Okay, the rules base. Are we good? Okay, so I think this covers majority of it. You can just add to this the explanation system, output, or okay, let's put it this way. There is an output, there is an output explaining mhm, the diagnosis, which is the explanation system. Okay, all right. Hope this is clear. Let me know in the comment section if you're learning. All right. The next one is explain how an expert could produce an incorrect, how an expert system could produce an incorrect diagnosis of an illness. Now, listen to this. Now, it's important for you to know when it comes to the advantages and disadvantages of expert system. And one of the disadvantages of expert system is that number one, apart from setup maintenance costs are very high, is they are only as good as the information entered into the system. So if the information entered into the system is wrong, I mean, you bet it's going to be wrong. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It's going to be wrong. Right? Users sometimes can make very dangerous assumptions that that they are infallible. Right? So let's talk about it real quick. Right? So here I have one way, right, is we can look at the fact that um, the user, like I said, enters incorrect data. The illness, let's talk about the illness. The illness may not be stored in the knowledge base. If I can add one more, I would say the illness could be something new. Okay, so if it's something new, what happens? I mean, user will have to manage. Right? I know that came out wrong, but yeah, it's not new. It's new, and you have to wait till we have a solution or something. Okay. All right. Let's look at question 4. A company is creating a customer database. The database needs to be tested with live data. Now you see this in chapter 7, the systems lifecycle. And you see this in what? Under for the live data, you see it in D&T. Okay, if you're wondering about D&T, this is not design and technology, this is development and testing. Okay, so what is meant by live data? And we have one mark for it, right? The one simple way I can talk about it is data that is currently in use. I could say others, data with known outcomes. Okay, data with what? Known outcomes, where the outcomes are known.
A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdXL and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at agiletech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdXL. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdXL E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at agile@gmail.com, and they will reply to you. And the good news about this is what I've discussed with the sales team is we've tried as much as possible to see how we can subsidize the amount according to countries, so it doesn't really look very, very heavy. Okay, so this is really important. Yes, we do charge in pounds, but again, we try to be as much as possible considerate to your countries, and we don't just skyrocket the price. No, because at the end of the day, we know how it feels, and we really want you to actually get the best of service, and again, be able to afford it from the comfort of your home. So again, Agile Tech private tuition is currently ongoing. You can enroll yourself for the IGCSE, and then for the E levels. Again, for the IGCSEs, these are the subjects, and for the E levels, these are also the subjects. So again, what are you waiting for? Just send an email to the sales team, If you're an IGCSE student preparing for IGCSE, if you're watching this in 2024, 5, watching this in 2026, watching this in 2027, we're currently ongoing, and this is actually a good time for you to actually explore, and then get it tailored to your own needs. So trust me, you don't want to miss out.
Okay, having a bit of a cold. Okay, so but I have to do this for you guys, man. I have to make the sacrifice for you all because you all mean so much to me. Yeah. Explain the issues associated with using live data to test this database. Okay, so we're still on the issue of live. So explain the issues that is associated with using live data to test database. Okay, now one of the issues that will occur, we'll talk about live data. These are data that are currently in use. So these are data that are being used by users. Okay, and because they are being used with the users, they may contain personal data. Okay, so the data could contain personal data. Okay, and also the data could breach Data Protection Act. And you see that in chapter 10. Sorry, no, chapter 8. Sorry. Okay, I know most of you wanted to chew me words. You say, Joe, you made... No, 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 sorry. That's fine, it's fine, right? It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Right, your DPA, right? Right, your DPA. That means Data Protection Act. And we'll talk about Data Protection Act. What are we saying? You see it under what we're talking about your e-safety, right? These are laws that guides the use of data that can identify someone, right, when they're being used on platforms. Okay, and that's why we have is an act, and that act needs to be upheld, right? So data must not be transferred to that country without appropriate permission. Data must be accurate and all that and all that. All right. A test strategy was produced for this database. Explain what is meant by test strategy. So this is chapter 7 again, and still design and is still this, right? Chapter 7, system lifecycle, D and T. Okay, system lifecycle, D and T. So let's explain what is meant by live data. Now for sorry, test strategies. Now, let me explain what data view is. It simply means that these data or this part of the software are being developed as what? Models. Okay? They're developed as what? As models. And because of that, each of them need to be tested separately and then integrated into a final program and then still tested. Modify if there's any error and then corrected. Right? So we can now say that one, it explains explains how each model, okay, is to be tested. Another one is it describes the testing approach of the database. Okay. Question 5. The cloud can be used for computer gaming. One major issue is the protection of personal data. Discuss apart from the protection of personal data, the benefits and drawbacks of gaming on the cloud. Okay, so this is probably a 6 marker question. Let's see how we can explain this. Cloud, chapter 4. Protection of data, chapter 8. Online gaming, chapter 8. Now let's put them together. Okay. So now when we are gaming in cloud, we with this knowledge together, we know what cloud computing is, and now we're playing this thing. Now, one of the benefits when it comes to cloud is number one, this information can be accessed anytime. But we are gaming on the cloud. It simply means that we are not gaming on our local computers. So let's talk about the benefit first, right? Number one, large because it's cloud, large storage, and you know those games, right? And basically you're playing them on cloud. You're not playing them on your own computer because it's large storage capacity, right? So large storage capacity. So the game should run smoothly. All right. The next one is it allows the user to play from many places. So you can be using your iPad and then you can continue with your iPhone, literally. And because it's in the cloud, the games are more up to date. The ones you play offline that you have to buy. So if there's a new update, what happens? You have to buy another one, right? So when these things are in the cloud, it's easier to make an update with the patches, and all you have to do is to update. But when you have an offline version, I mean, for gamers, this should be very, very easy for you. When you have an offline version, what happens, right? So if you buy, there's one game I'm probably familiar with. I don't know if I should say because it's on YouTube, because of license or whatever, but right, I don't know. So we have the Football Manager, right? The apology, this is not an advert for anything. It's just to make a case here. The Football Manager, right? I'm a fan of the Football Manager. Do I play it? I'm not saying. Okay, I'm not saying. Now, when I got the offline version of it, right? So that simply means that I have to. I think I have the last one I was playing back then was FM23. So if I'm going to have to play FM25, I have to buy. But if it's on the cloud, it's just Football Manager, right? I just have to be updating, 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 updating. Okay. And another key thing is multi-users. Surely you can't forget this now, right? Right? Especially with your um all those your um right multiplayer games, right? You know them. I'm not going to call their names, right? So it simply means that multi-user games can easily be used. Many people joining in and going for battle. Multi-user games can easily be used. Okay? All right, let's talk about the drop down, the drawbacks. The drawbacks is, I mean, if it's offline, I don't need internet. Good thing, right? But this is where it's bad when it comes to gaming on the cloud. You need a stable internet connection. Okay? Another bad thing, user does not own the game. And this is why protection of personal data. This is right here. So it does not own the game. Okay? And yeah, cloud storage could be expensive. Consider that. Cloud storage could be expensive. That's why all these games have in-app purchases that keeps up these views, right? I think I've stretched far, so I'll probably this will be others. And what else? Um, Needs greater bandwidth. Um, okay, there's also the tendency that there may be a monthly subscription, like I said, in-app purchase to play, right? The faster you pay, the better you play. Wow, I get something. Write it down. Tweet it, right? Take a snap of it. Put it on Facebook, TikTok, right? Right? The faster you pay, the better you play. Put in the comment. That's for the gamers. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead. Right? So encryption can be used to protect personal data when gaming, right? So when gaming, encryption, explain what is meant by encryption. Now look at this. This two marker. So you see this in chapter 8, chapter 8, um, safety and security, and then you see it under protection of data. Okay, you see it under what? Protection of data. So let's look at it together. So how do we protect our data? We protect our data using what? Encryption. So what's the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about encryption? Is to protect data, right? In cases where it, just in case your data has been hacked or your laptop has been hacked. So it is, hacking does not prevent, encryption does not prevent hacking, but rather it makes your data to be meaningless, okay? Unless the hacker has the necessary decryption tools. Take note, right? So if the hacker has the necessary decryption tools, well, say goodbye to your files, right? So let's talk about this. Let's see how we can put this. So my first point here is um, it alters the message to be meaningless. Okay, so that's one way to look at it. So we can say uses a key to encrypt. Okay, one way is convert plain text into ciphertext. Okay, now if I want to put others here, what do I do? It makes the data meaningless. So let me show you how I got my point. So this will probably help you. Okay, let me do it here. Permit me to do it here. So we have the encryption key right here. We have the plain text right here. We have encryption process. We have the cipher script or text. Okay. Now, if you want to decrypt, it's still the same process. Um, For decryption, this is the process here. So you have the ciphertext, cipher script. Okay, this goes here. And then you have what? The decryption key. All right, this goes here. We have the decryption process, and then we have what? The plain text. All right, so that's how we do it, really. Hope this is clear. All right, let's look at the let's look at C part. Which question is it? This is question 5C. Let's look at the C part. One player wants to send a list of players and their score to a friend as an attachment. Okay, so I'm seeing attachment here, so I'm seeing chapter 10. I'm not sure. Let's check. State the precaution that needs to be taken when sending and receiving attachment. Okay, so this is chapter 8. Okay, so you see this in chapter 8. Chapter 8, safety and security, right? And then you see it in e-safety. You know, e-safety, we have four: sending and receiving emails, using the internet, social networking, and then online gaming. Okay, so what do we do here? Now, the first one is you can scan the attachment for viruses. Okay, you can encrypt. We just talked about that. We're going to use that knowledge. Encrypt the files. You know, they said sending and receiving. So we've talked about for receiving. Let's talk about for sending. Encrypt the files if personal data is to be sent. This where digital certificate is very important. The next one is um, you can keep your antiviruses, software up to date. If I'm to talk about other, right? I mean, for the love of everything, just ensure, right? Ensure the user is sending the correct attachment. Okay. Question 6. Some friends are planning to explore a remote area of India. They need to stay in contact with their families and can either use a smartphone or a satellite phone. Evaluate the use of satellite phone rather than smartphone in this scenario. Now, watch this. When we hear the word evaluate, we are talking about two things. We're talking about the benefit, we're talking about the positive, or and we're talking about the drawbacks, and we're talking about the negative. For your evaluation to be complete, it must your point must contain benefits or positive, and drawbacks are negative. Are we together? Okay, so let's do this together. So let's talk about the benefit or positive, whichever one. So what's the benefit of the satellite phone? So that means that even if you're in a remote area, as long as you have satellite phone, you have a you make your satellite phone, it makes it of the satellite. Now satellite is everywhere, right? So it can work, right? So we can see that satellite phones are more robust. Yeah, truly, it doesn't just get damaged when it falls on the floor. And satellite phone are more likely to get a signal. Satellite phone have a larger range. Let's talk about drawbacks. Okay. The satellite itself, the satellite signals are more easily blocked by obstacle. What else again? Satellite phones need expensive license. You just can't just buy it. So they need expensive licenses to use. And again, for satellite phone, are only used for phone call. Okay. All right. You hope that makes sense.
A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdXL and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at ajirotech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdXL. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdXL E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at ajiro@gmail.com, and they'll reply to you. And the good news about this is what I've discussed with the sales team is we've tried as much as possible to see how we can subsidize the amount according to countries, so it doesn't really look very, very heavy. Okay, so this is really important. Yes, we do charge in pounds, but again, we try to be as much as possible considerate to your countries, and we don't just skyrocket the price. No, because at the end of the day, we know how it feels, and we really want you to actually get the best of service, and again, be able to afford it from the comfort of your home. So again, Ajiro Tech private tuition is currently ongoing. You can enroll yourself for the IGCSE and then for the E levels. Again, for the IGCSEs, these are the subjects, and for the E levels, these are also the subjects. So, again, what are you waiting for? Just send an email to the system. If you're an IGCSE student preparing for IGCSE, if you're watching this in 2025, when this is in 2026, when this is 2027, we're currently ongoing, and this is actually a good time for you to actually explore and then get it tailored to your own needs. So trust me, you don't want to miss out.
Question 7. A company is planning to implement a new computer software system. It is going to use direct changeover. So I've said direct changeover here. So this is chapter 7. The systems, clean it. The systems life cycle. And this is under what implementation. One of the reasons for using this method is that the benefits are immediate. Good, I've given you one. Discuss other benefits and drawbacks of using this method of implementation. Now, now when we talk about direct changeover, this is where the the old system. So we're talking about old system, and then we're talking about new system. So this is where the old system stopped working overnight, and the new system is being implemented. Now, the disadvantage of this is that if the new system stops working, there'll be nothing to fall back to, right? So I've just given you a whole idea of what we are about to write. So let's talk about, and it's very, very cheap. Why is it cheap? It's cheap because you're only using the new system in terms of staff acquisition. So it's we can say, okay, no, let me do this. Benefit, you have to put this first. Let your examiner know you're writing. So only needs one set of staff. The next one is the software is fully tested before implementation, right? So you can also say that it saves time on entering, not just saves time, you have to specify on entering data as the data is entered once. Let's talk about the drawbacks. I think I've stretched this far enough. For the drawbacks, what are we looking here? Um, in case of a disaster, right? If the system fails, if the new system fails, there is nothing to fall back to. There is nothing to fall back to. For others, right? Staff cannot be trained easily on the live system, on the new system. It can increase um, staff costs if the staff is to be trained to use the new system, because again, you have to bring in somebody to teach them why they're using it. Okay, so it can actually increase staff cost, as staff will need to be trained to use the new system. Explain what is meant by the benefits are immediate. I mean, there's one way to explain this, right? So when the new system has been implemented it can be used straight away. Another point is the whole system is implemented at once. And let's talk about question 8. State one example of a device that can be used to read data from the following storage media. Okay, so this is chapter 3. Chapter 3. So we have storage devices and media. Okay, so let's talk about example of one device that can be used to read, keyword there, read. So we have the CD or DVD reader. Okay. Um, for magnetic, we have the magnetic hard drive. For solid state, I'm just going to go with pen drive, even if we have memory card reader and we have our SSD. So these are others. Computer use network interface card. Now, I don't know if you're talking about chapter 1 or they're talking about chapter 4 because literally they all do the same thing, right? So explain the purpose of a network interface card. So you can get this knowledge from chapter one. Okay. We are talking about the internal hardware. You can also get this knowledge in chapter four, networks and the effects of using them. So I'm going to pick one, right? I'm going to pick one on this because again, you can actually use anyone to explain and then you're good to go. So anyone you want to use is fine. So chapter one or chapter four, if whichever way you want to go with is fine. Okay, so I'm just going to go with um, okay, let me just go with chapter one, types and components of computer systems. I'm in between choices, which to go with, or chapter four, networks and the effects of using them. Okay, so when we talk about the network interface card, what's the purpose of using that? Now, the purpose is number one, let's look at this, allows a computer or any other device. Okay, I think I'll just do that. I think I'll skip this because of what I've written there. Allows a computer or any other device to be connected to a network. All right. Again, this is 4 marks. Now, this is where chapter 4 is important because with chapter 4, you'll be able to see that there's what we call a media access control. As I said, two chapters. We have the media access, what you call your MAC address. Now, your MAC address is used to, is we see it as a physical address, right? Is used to uniquely identify what a device. So the MAC address is being embedded in what the network interface card, right? So it provides the device with its own what? MAC address. Okay? It prepares the flow of data on the network. It provides a computer with a connection. No? Repeated? Okay. repeated. So here we can see that it's already here. So here we can see that it allows the computer to communicate, yeah, this better, with other computer on the network. A user wishes to set a Bluetooth headphone to a computer. So this is chapter 4. Describe how the headphones can be connected to a computer by Bluetooth. So we have this is chapter 4, networks and the effects of using them. Okay. All right. We have to describe. So what to list out those things that examiners want to see. So the first one is to turn on your Bluetooth. So turn on the headphone Bluetooth. So this is practical, really. Turn on the headphones Bluetooth. What again? Of the headphone Bluetooth and computer. Okay, that's how it works. Bring them close. Bring the headphone close to the computer. Okay, bring the headphone close to the computer. Select Bluetooth settings on the computer. Search for device. Search for devices. Computer identifies the device. Click to add the device. Mhm. Search for device. Identify the device. Click to add the device. Select a device, which is the headphone, which is the headphone. Click pair. That's all. A company is planning to replace its computer system. It would need to carry out analysis of the current system. Okay, so state the information about the current system that needs to be what identified. So you see this in chapter 7. the system lifecycle, okay, and then you see it under analysis. Okay, okay. So what are those? Now we'll talk about state the information about the current system that needs to be identified. We're talking about the stages of analysis. That's what we are talking about. The stages of analysis. Okay, look at it. It carried the analysis of the current system. So what are the ways? So we have researching. Okay, I think that has been done. So we have identifying the input and output of the current system, of the current system. Yeah. Okay. What else? The processes of the current system. You can split both of them and you have your mark. So just so you know, problems with the current system. If you put, let me see, it will need to carry the analysis of the current system. I think also you can add this, right? I think it's not there. Researching the current system. Now, if you put user requirement of the new system, information requirement, those ones is bad. It's wrong. It's right because we're talking about the coin system, which is what? The old system, not the new system. So know how you put the stages. Okay. A set education is carried out during the analysis. Explain the purpose of the system specification. We're talking about the specification, we're talking about the identifying the hardware and software of the new system. So here you what are you doing here? You are identifying suitable hardware for the new system. You're also identifying suitable software for the new system. You're also identifying the capabilities of the new system. Okay. A software is developing, a company rather, a company is developing a piece of software. The company needs to have a clear sense of audience for its software, audience, so that it will be suitable for the user. It's one of the characteristics that needs to be considered. Okay, one of the characteristics that needs to be considered, one of the characteristics that needs to be considered is the expectation of the user. State other characteristics that needs to be considered. So you see this in chapter 9, right? And this is something new. Chapter 9, audiences, in terms of the context. Okay, so let's talk about it. Now we have various characteristics of it. We have various characteristics of it. So essentially, when we talk about um, the audience, we have how we are giving presentations to an audience. Now look at it. The company needs to have a clear sense of the audience for its software so that it will be suitable for the user. So you're giving a presentation. They said a company is developing a piece of software. The company needs to have a clear sense of audience for its software. One of the characteristics is the expectation of the user. State two other categories characteristics that needs to be considered. So we have you have to also look at the age of the target group that you are giving this you are developing the software for. Okay, so when you're giving a presentation, you need to consider these factors. You have to look at the age of the target group. You have to look at the experience of the audience. For others, you have to look at the knowledge of the audience. It's important. Let me explain this. The age matters. If you're developing a software for kids and you're talking about adults, you will probably miss them, right? I know we have adults for kids, but no, that's not the point. The experience, right? You need to be in a crowd where if you're developing the software, the users who are going to use it needs to actually feel it. They need to, because the young children will have a different appreciation and response compared to a more matured group of adults, right? So it's very important. That's for the age of the target group. The experience, however, is you are expecting a different approach compared to an audience composed of teenage school children, right? So if it's a board of company directors, it's going to be different, okay? It's going to be different. And they look at the knowledge of the audience. For example, the software you're building for, do they have a knowledge of what it is? Okay, most software that you see are built based on the knowledge of the other. So it's easier, right? I'll give you an example. PlayerUnknown Battleground. If a child is playing PlayerUnknown Battleground, the child can be playing Fortnite, right? The child can be playing Call of Duty, really. So it's the knowledge really is important. All right. The developer is concerned about the software being pirated. Describe three methods the company could use to prevent software piracy. So this is also chapter 9. And I'm going to be very specific with this. This chapter 9, audiences, and under the audiences, rather, we're looking at copyright. Okay, right. Talking about software copyright. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, software copyright and piracy. Okay, piracy. Did I spell it well? Okay, and piracy. Okay. So what do we use here? What are the methods um, that we can use here? We can use a dongle. Let's start with that. A dongle, and the dongle is a piece of hardware plugged into a computer, plug into a computer software, and cannot be used without it. The next one is the product key. When we look at product key, unique code that is entered by the user. So every product has a product key. So it's unique to every person. Okay. A license agreement. A license agreement. Okay, so that's an agreement between the user and the vendor about the software used. Okay, so that's one mark for each. Parents are worried about their children use of the internet. They should be, right? Um, explain how parents could monitor the use of the internet by their children. Now, this is chapter 10. Okay, this is chapter 10. Communications. Some will look at it this way from chapter 8, safety and security, and they will look at it from the e-safety. When we talk about using the internet, using the internet. We're looking at it from two angles. So how the parents monitor the use of the internet by their children. Now, the first one is to install a website monitoring software. The next one is to um, you can also monitor their search history. Okay, you can record the activities the children are doing online. Okay, now we have the B. Explain how the parents could control the use of internet by their children. For those who use an iPhone, I always tell parents, right, just get an Apple devices for your children and then put it to safe, right? If you go to your settings, that's what we use on it. I remember right now, right? But yeah, that helps. Um, so I use it again, saved, I think it's timer or something that helps to time up your children on certain applications and you have access to it. Okay, so again, you can use other software, there are other software as well that you can actually use um, to help as well. Okay, so you could plan, that's one way. You could plan the time your children can use the internet. Um, one important thing when you're searching the internet is you see that in in chapter 8, where using the internet is to okay, turn on, save search on search engines. Okay. You could switch to parental control, switch on parental control. Okay. You could actually create content filters to block inappropriate, right? Inappropriate content. You can actually do that. This is not out of place to talk about, but you could actually plan the times when the children can use the internet. Okay? I think I didn't spell the internet. Let me do that. Use the internet. And that's why I always speak as I'm writing. State the need for generic file format. You see that in chapter 11, file management. Okay, so 2 marks here, let's talk about it. So what's the need for generic file format? The first I can talk about is software programs rarely, so that's the need, rarely support all types of file formats. The next one is allow users to transfer files from one package to another. Okay, so it can allow you to save files so they can be open in that platform. That's another very key one. Just put order here. It allows the users to save files so that they can be opened on any platform. Okay, so they can be opened on any platform. Give two examples of generic file format used for images. They are being specific, used for images. So we have four, right? I'm going to mention all the four here, right? So we have four. The first one I'm going to start with is still chapter 11. If you're wondering, this is also chapter 11. Let me clean this. So let me clean. This is also chapter 11. So you can see this as well. This is chapter 11, file format, file management, rather, file management. So we have the joint photographic, okay, expert group. Now you see this as JPEG, or you could just see it as the joint photographic group, JPG, right? Then we have the next one, portable, okay, portable network graphics, which is what PNG. For others, we have the graphics interchange formats, that's GIF. Um, We have yeah, we also have portable network graphics, portable portable document format, portable document format. If you're wondering what that is, that means PDF. Okay, that means PDF. So these are the four types. So these are the four types. If you're wondering, these are the four types for it. Okay, these are the four types for it. Okay, right. I guess this is the end for this paper. I think it's been fairly interesting, really, fairly interesting. So it's just for you to understand the concept, and then most of them you just have to just apply what you know, right? And that's really the assessment objective, really, right? Where you're able to um, understand, um, the knowledge, right, of ICT, right, and then you get to apply them, right, in terms of theories, in terms of practical. So I think for this paper, just a few things. There was no practical question. Apart from the only practical aspect was chapter 11, which was the last part of it. It's not really a practical concept, just something that you should know, really, if you're practicing paper three. That's why it's important to always know these things. You see your CSV, you see your TST, ROTF, JPG, MPM, MP4. You ask questions, what does it mean? Where do we find them? Um, PNG, where do we find them on the test? It's important, know the meaning because again, that was like 4 marks, right? Give or take in this knowledge, and that could really prove very important for your paper. So I hope you had I think it was fairly good. And please do want to invite your friends to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And I would see you in the next one. Okay? Bye for now.